What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is May 6th of 2018. Well, folks, it's time for a daily update here on the DataDash channel. As you all can still probably tell, I'm still in Dubai at the moment. I just wrapped up the Futurama Blockchain Conference, which was an absolute blast. It was so awesome getting to meet other fellow YouTubers in the space, some of which I've watched for a very long time as I've learned about crypto myself. And along with that as well, I had the opportunity to have so many wonderful experiences and share many great moments with so many awesome new people that I just met here at the conference. So I definitely know I want to come back to Dubai. It's been a spectacular experience. But nonetheless, there's been a lot of important stuff over the past few hours to talk about in regards to markets. A change in tone and price with Bitcoin getting close to $10,000, as well as some important headlines to go through in regards to Ethereum having a decision by the SEC over the next few days in regards to it being a security. So we've got some really key things to dive into, guys. As always, we'll be taking a look at some fundamental price action as well as doing some technical analysis on the market leaders, but we've got some key headlines to go through as well. So let's not push it off any longer and dive right into the daily update. So first, I want to go ahead and take a look across the board here. We can see that over the past few hours, there have been some steady players up in the green, double digits. But for the most part, things have been relatively neutral. We have some players in the green, some players slightly in the red, and a few players hitting double digits in the red. But for the most part, we see that a lot of these market leaders outside of Bitcoin Cash, which we're going to be spending some time talking about, really a lot of them are some newcomers to the space. If we look across the board, we're seeing, for example, a lot of the giants that have been gaining, for example, like EOS, a lot of the larger platform or protocol plays have actually been correcting a little bit, whereas a lot of the new players have started to come up. So Elastos, which has really been only out for a few weeks, as well as some new players that have entered into the top 100, like CyberMouse and Bank to the Future. So, and also WakyChain as well, which just recently launched. So we see all these new protocols coming up onto the scene, starting to gain some serious valuation. And Zilliqa, for example, already $1 billion cryptocurrency. Really, really fascinating stuff across the board in regards to this, guys. We're seeing what I like to call the protocol wars in full effect. A lot of new competing protocols coming into the space and competing with larger players like Ethereum, EOS, and Neo. Again, we'll have to see if a lot of them can substantially compete, but again, it's the hype factor in regards to having competing protocols that offer different platforms for development of decentralized applications and smart contracts. So as we take it here to the yearly, we can start to see that not only has support become obviously clear at 250, guys, but we are well into the bull run here. Actually, over the past few hours, making new highs around a valuation of around $470 billion, or at least relative new highs in regards to the run-up over the past few months. But again, we're holding quite well here. A lot of this has been due predominantly over the past few hours to Bitcoin, as well as strong players like Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash, and some of the new protocol plays that we've seen across the board. So not only is Bitcoin doing well, but we've also got altcoins holding in theirs as well at the moment. But the momentum we've seen in altcoins has started to slow down a little bit. We've started to see Bitcoin dominance flatten out around the 35% range. I think we're going to go down to the lower 33% range before we see any kind of slight movement to the upside. But really, I think we've got a much longer drop in Bitcoin dominance before this altcoin cycle is over. I think we've got a lot of risk taking that's about to hit the market. But along with that, we can see that what's really been gaining the lost dominance in other coins due to Bitcoin flattening out here has been Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash. So two of the market leaders across the board, especially Ethereum, doing very, very well here. Ethereum's been on a nice rip over the past few days, and a lot of that might have to do with the upcoming decision. So we're going to be, or the upcoming discussion that the SEC is going to be having. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit, guys. Let's go ahead, take a look here and do some technical analysis across the market. So I actually was at one of the events for the Futurama Blockchain Conference, and I heard the announcement from someone because, again, I don't like to check my portfolio too much when I'm catch up with people and stuff. I just can't do it. It's something where I'm not checking my phone 24/7. But nonetheless, I guess I'm probably a minority in the case of most of the crypto community in that case. But nonetheless, I got to go and do some really cool events. And at the time, I heard about Bitcoin hitting 10,000, and I've been waiting for this for quite some time. I know that we, for example, back here on May 3rd, had seen a really nice leap up, gotten back up to this level around 9,800, and we've been slowly but steadily climbing towards there. Now, the volume itself isn't really showing that we're ready for a breakout. And in fact, over the past few hours, we haven't been able to solidify a close above 10,000. Now, we have gotten on some exchanges. The one we're looking at now is Bitfinex. Some exchanges did get over 10,000, but again, it wasn't. It was more seen in a sense as resistance for the short term, being at least because we haven't been able to close above it. Right when we got above to the level around there, we've seen a rejection 2 times right below around the $10,000 range. So because of this, I think it's pretty obvious at this point that we're going to possibly contest with this level. Not to mention, you've got the 200-day here, which is going to make it even more difficult. The thing for me, though, is if we were to get, for example, say over the next few days, a correction in markets, especially if continued fear grew in regards to Ethereum's security definition, which again we'll talk about in just a little bit, I think you'd possibly see Bitcoin come back down to 9,000. It wouldn't be too hard to believe because we've seen this happen before at 9,800 just a few weeks ago. In one day, completely closed down the gains of the previous day, which propelled Bitcoin forward at a pretty decent degree. So we'll have to see with this, guys. There's not too much we can tell. The only support levels we really have to work with are here at 9,000 as well as 8,000 in the worst case scenario. I don't know what would bring it down there, but again, I think at this moment it's really just seeing if we can maintain and hold above this region and really get the volume that's going to propel us forward. That's what I'm looking for here. So because of that, that's why I'm not a permable until we really get, well, I'm never a permable. I'm always keeping it fair, but in regards to Bitcoin in the short term, I need to see a good breakout candle, a serious sense of buy-side action on exchange, propping up the price above $10,000. But until we see that, I'm not going to make the case that we're going for the absolute bull run just yet. Nonetheless, we are in the full-fledged altcoin cycle, at least something that feels nice to have ever since December and January's collapse going through February and March. And one of those players has been the second largest cryptocurrency, and that is Ethereum. Ethereum's been doing very, very well over the past few weeks. It's not only proven really good technical support, but along with that as well, we have seen, again, a nice little plethora of volume coming in, maintaining a nice steady uptrend and green price action across the board. Now, a lot of people have been curious as to why this is happening. I think generally it's been a stack up of Ethereum because there's been a lot of new ICOs coming out. People are picking up Ethereum, investing in ICOs. It's, again, the risk-taking period. People are putting more Ethereum into these ICOs rather than Ethereum getting cashed out by the ICOs who collect it in order to raise capital. And you can tend to find trends like this sometimes in the market because of this general shift. When more people are investing rather than ICOs actually cashing out, you tend to find that with Ethereum. So those are really the two big shifters with Ethereum because it is the form of capital for so many of these projects. But a lot of this also has to do with some concerns in regards to Ethereum's, the definition of Ethereum be registered as a security, possibly by the SEC upcoming in the next few days. I think it's on Mondays. We'll take a look at the article. Could have the wrong date on that. But basically speaking, the SEC is going to make a very prominent decision on this. And it's going to lead us towards really defining a lot more in regards to the crypto space and how capital is raised in this space and if it meets what's known as the Howey test. Long story short, though, I think Ethereum is completely fine. I think people are stacking up on it not because of fear. Some people have been talking about out of fear that the exchanges are going to shut down. If that was the case, people would be cashing out Ethereum rapidly. But we don't see any crazy volume. So, again, I'll talk a little bit later on about more of a positive tone in regards to the worry of the SEC's decision. Nonetheless, though, Ethereum's chart looks nice. The thing is, though, is there's just not too much technical analysis we can do on this. The uptrend has been sound. It's been looking very healthy. I would like to maybe see a little bit more volume on exchange, hopefully pushing it higher in price. Nonetheless, though, we've got a lot of price action to continue here if we think we're going to get back here up to the highs of what we saw back in February. It's a good 50% continuation, generally speaking, around good 40 to 50% continuation and one of the large cap players if we get back up to those Bitcoin comparative highs. So, as Bitcoin dominance drops, could be the case for Ethereum. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ripple here. Ripple holding nice and steady here, not exactly getting what we were expecting on the channel. I'll be fair on this. I was hoping we'd get a more steady correction as much as we've had an exponential rise up here through the good part of April. When we had the correction begin, I was hoping we would come back down to the 50-day moving average. But as of now, we're holding very steadily along 90,000 Satoshis with Ripple. So if this continues to hold, I'd consider maybe possibly doing a trade on it, but I'm not at the point where I'm willing to buy just yet. I need to see this come back down, continue to maintain support on the big even, and get a bounce off, and then I'd possibly do a little bit of a momentum trade on Ripple in this case. But until then, I'm not touching it right now. And along with that as well, I know there's the big recent case in regards to towards Ripple as a company. There was a big case with, I think, people being worried about the fact that they raised money as a security as well. So again, the whole securities debate is going on quite strong in regards to the crypto community right now. Along with that as well, I want to spend some time to talk about Bitcoin Cash. This is something that has captivated my interest over the past few days, and I don't hear too many people talking about it. It's the fact that we're seeing very similar price action to what we've seen in the past with Bitcoin Cash. And one thing that I fear very much, guys, is that there's not so much reason for this on a rational sense. Again, crypto tends to not be rational very often, but a lot of people have been curious as to why Bitcoin Cash is moving like it is. Is there a catalyst that's pushing this? And to be fair with you guys, I honestly think it's market makers. I think it's people in the space who are, again, just trying to prop up the price. There has been some new developments, again, as we did the video on Bitcoin Cash recently. But to my knowledge, I don't know of anything that's leading to the price increasing like this. I don't see grand levels of adoption for Bitcoin Cash compared to Bitcoin, just like how it wasn't back here. So not playing negative on Bitcoin Cash. Again, you guys know I'm actually quite neutral in regards to Bitcoin Cash's technology. It's just the fact of the matter that, again, we've seen in the past prices easily manipulated with Bitcoin Cash. And there's a lot of rumors that go towards a lot of the big mining pools in China and stuff being in favor of Bitcoin Cash with Bitmain and everything like that. So again, just rumors and speculation at that point. But nonetheless, I wouldn't be picking something up when you start getting this kind of exponential price action. Again, this was the range to get into Bitcoin Cash, to be fair. I was expecting, I think, 5 million Satoshis, but sometimes you win some, you lose some, and again, you only want to get in a trade when you feel comfortable about it. So going on here, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other market leaders. EOS finally getting a little bit of a cool down here. I'm really excited that this is going to kind of take, it seems like the brakes have been hit a little bit on EOS. I would love for this to come down to the rising 50-day moving average. If we could get EOS at that level, I know I will be building a nice steady position in EOS for the long term. But until we get it towards a more reasonable price level, guys, I can see the correction is settling in a little bit. We need to see this find support somewhere. And as the price continues to drop and the 50-day continues to rise, it could come in a nice neutral zone around maybe 150,000 Satoshis, 140,000 Satoshis, something around that range. I just need to see that sense of price stability, whereas this has been going up exponentially. So in that case, I will wait patiently. Maybe we might even have it come down to previous resistance. Previous resistance tends to become new support. So going across the board here, let's take a look at a few more. Litecoin finally getting traction, getting a triple bottom here. Something that I didn't spot because I was thinking this would come down to the test down to the 200-day. But to be fair, this found support and garnered around, around 1,500,000 Satoshis and is now back above the 50-day moving average. So very interesting to see that. Volume is still very thin as it has been across the board. We don't have a lot of new liquidity entering into the market yet. And because of that, volume has been relatively stagnant. Nonetheless, though, good to see Litecoin doing well. I'm going to wait to see if it holds on the 50-day and possibly might look for a small trading opportunity back into the higher range. But again, I don't like buying Litecoin or any other cryptocurrency when it's at these kind of highs, guys, unless it's solidified long term. We've had some nice price stability, to be fair, with Litecoin up in this price range. So we might be looking for higher Bitcoin comparative levels for Litecoin in this case. Okay, let's go ahead here, take a look at a few more protocols. ADA, BTC, Cardano doing very nice, having a nice steady uptrend, almost a little bit exponential, and having nice little cool down periods where we have some flagging in the price action. So having one bull flag, two bull flags, this is showing that people are continuing to add on corrections, guys. This is solid price strength confirmation. Again, I wouldn't bet against Cardano. I love the project long term. And this is something that, again, I wouldn't trade too much outside of the big cycles. So I made my addition down here in Cardano. It was a move in regards to a long-term add, but I add on the major dips in that case. I add to my position in that case, and I think we've got a lot of upside to go. I think we'll easily revisit the highs by the end of the overall altcoin cycle. Going on here, let's go ahead and take a look at a few more. Icon as well, doing good, having a nice flag in the price action after a nice steady uptrend as well, looking very healthy. And we'll look last but not least at Neo as well. Neo finally getting a little bit of a green day here after we've been getting very big volume pumps in regards to purchasing on Neo. It depends on what exchange you look at, but on Binance, Bittrex, pretty much across the board, you can see that there have been some days where large institutions have been swallowing up Neo, continuing to push the price higher. But nonetheless, we've had a nice correction over the past few days. So if you've missed on the opportunity to get into Neo, if you like the project or maybe we're looking to add positions, again, I made an addition to Neo myself. Good, again, one of my long-term favorites in regards to protocols. Still has some developments going on, but they've built a very, very steady ecosystem in regards to most crypto protocols. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and dive into the news and the headlines here. I want to spend some time to talk a little bit about this because many people have been correlating this, like in the headlines. Always love to find correlations in price action and news headlines and big events. But they've been talking about how the recent price action in Ethereum has been ahead of regulators' positions on cryptocurrencies with the SEC. So to give you guys a short rundown from what I've been able to read and catch up with, basically this SEC and the CFTC, it's important to note that both are discussing this, are going to decide whether or not Ethereum and Ripple are securities. So this is a very, very important decision by large financial institutions in the United States for Ethereum, because if Ethereum itself is registered as a security, that is a very, very, I'm trying to put this in the best words. It is a very big director in the sense of how we understand what cryptocurrencies really are. Because there's been a lot of money being raised in regards to the ICO space. There's been about $6 billion, I think is the latest statistic. And with all this capital being raised, especially as Ethereum is not only a platform for a lot of these ICOs, but as one of the largest cryptocurrencies in existence, many people are going to be wondering, once this decision comes out, what it means for the entire cryptocurrency space. It will have ironically enough, Ripple is one of the candidates. It's going to have a rippling effect on how we interpret cryptocurrencies and capital raising, no pun intended. And because of this, it's a very, very key decision. Now, many people are very worried because in this process, what they're going to go through is what's known as the Howey test. This is how you determine if something, at least under the court system, determined back in, I think it was the 1940s, when the Howey was Howey versus I think it was the SEC. I can't remember the case. Basically speaking, though, the Howey test is how we define under the SEC what is registered as a security. And many people are confident in the crypto space that during the process when they were raising for Ethereum, that they were confident, the lawyers that they talked to were confident that it was not a security, that it failed to meet the necessities for the Howey test, and because of that, it wouldn't be registered as a security. I'm not only relatively confident on that consensus as well, but along with that as well, guys, we have to keep in mind that even though there are similarities to securities, obviously there is capital raising, and obviously there is, for example, I know one of the standards is that you purchase it expecting a profit. You expect that it's going to go up in value. The thing about this is that even though Ethereum does meet some of these traits, and even though I think there is a general concern with the SEC shutting down ICOs in the United States and tampering down a little bit on the kind of a few aspects of the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, there is no doubt that not only with the corporate influence of Ethereum and the Ethereum Alliance, that there is not going to be a shutdown, in my opinion, but along with that as well, Ethereum itself, even though it has its major flaws, in my opinion, has been one of the most professional projects that has actually brought about being able to bring blockchain to the mainstream to some regard, for at least enterprise applications. And Ethereum itself has really built that foundation within the community. It's brought about a technology that, for example, the Bitcoin core team didn't want to bring about back when Vitalik wanted to build what was equivalently Ethereum on top of Bitcoin. And I think the SEC, again, when we've seen the positive tones come in regards to, I'm trying to think of his name right now, the individual who came out for the SEC, coming out stating, we must respect this generation's right to this new form of technology and this new emerging market. With that kind of mindset, I think the SEC is really wanting to give a fair shot at this, not only on a moral sense, but at the same time as well, there is a lot of financial interest, folks, that want to get into this market. They understand that most asset classes, whether it be properties, stocks, bonds, everything right now is in a very severe bubble ever since the recession in 2008, when we started injecting quantitative easing and low interest rates. Everything has been propped up, and cryptocurrencies are a wonderful hedge against that, whether you're talking more about the enterprise innovation side of things like Ethereum or cryptocurrencies in general. So I don't think you're going to see more regulation. And after this decision, I think you're not only going to see something positive come out of it, where they don't register Ethereum as a security, or even if it is, that they're not going to enforce it like other securities. But the main key thing that I really want to drill in here is that this is going to really bring about confidence in the idea that we can see more support from the SEC and the CFTC in regards to adoption of crypto derivatives products and things like a Bitcoin ETF as well as crypto ETFs over the next few years. I really think people are going to be so shocked over the next few months as to just how positive the SEC is going to be in regards to cryptocurrencies. I think it's going to come much faster than many people are expecting. So again, across the board, many people have different opinions on this. The general gist is that we're going to have to see what happens on May 7th when they come through on the decision. It's going to be a very, very important date. So mark your calendars for tomorrow, guys. Keep up to date with the decision and the hearing, and we'll see what happens. I think, though, it's going to be on the better end of things. Going through, another thing I want to focus on here is that the fact that there was a large angel investor in China who originally owned 1 Bitcoin, but has decided, as the price has gone down, to go about owning 10,000 Bitcoins. So he is obviously a Bitcoin whale now. I don't get why you would state it publicly that you have 10,000 Bitcoins. Nonetheless, give him credit for it. I think it's going to pay off for him in the long term personally. It's just my opinion. I think Bitcoin, again, just like all cryptocurrencies, have a long, long way to go. So it could be a good long-term investment. Possibly. We'll have to see if you made the right decision. Nonetheless, though, again, I want to spend some time really here to talk about why this is important, guys. And as you can go through the article. It's relatively short, but he had a really cool quote here. Sorry, I'm still a little bit sick, guys. I apologize for the coughing and interruptions, but I want to go ahead here and spend some time to read his quote, and then I'll dive into the bigger picture as to what I want to talk about. He said, "I had only a single digit unit of Bitcoin just for fun in January. But when I got certain that Bitcoin and blockchain is the future, I set the goal of holding 10,000 Bitcoin. So I started around the end of January to build my holdings following the price decline. The more it dropped, the more I bought in, and now the mission is basically complete." Well, first off, buy low and sell high. Very smart. This guy understands the simplicity of being able to and simply invest in these markets when you can get a 30%, 40%, or 50% discount from the crazy exponential rallies that you get in especially these new kind of cryptocurrency / asset classes. And because of that, I think it was smart that he did that. But I want to talk a little bit more on the grander scheme of things, because seeing someone go out and purchase 10,000 Bitcoins sounds like an anomaly in the system. It sounds like, wow, this can't be happening every single day. But I think most people would be really, really shocked to find, and it's something that I've learned over the past few months as I've gotten to grow my network in the cryptocurrency space, learned from different areas that I haven't focused in, such as mining and the more kind of institutional side of things, is that there is a lot more money flowing into crypto than we see on the surface level, folks. And it's something that I'm very excited about, because it tells me that not only is there a lot of money coming into it, but a lot of that as well, the ETF is going to come much, much sooner than we think. Investment banks want to get into this space. But for those outside of the investment bank space who are on the institutional side that have a lot of capital, there has been a lot of money moving over what's known as OTC markets, or over the counter. And it's something that I've learned very interestingly enough over the past few months. One thing that many people don't know, if I were to ask you right now, for example, what the largest exchange was, many of you would probably say Binance, many people would say Upbit, maybe a Korean exchange of some sort, maybe Coinbase, some well-known exchange or something that processes a lot of volume. But the most, in the sense of volume and daily volume, the largest exchange is neither of those exchanges. It's none of them. It's actually Telegraph. I know that sounds weird, right? Now, I'm not saying Telegraph has launched an exchange of any means, but people have actually been going about buying the majority of Bitcoin, especially the larger people in the space, what we would call whales in some case, but sometimes even on the cash side, because it's a two-way street with orders. There's people who have capital and people who have Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And a lot of this has been happening between pairing individuals together and agreeing on specific prices off exchange. And this has been leading to, again, not just tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of dollars of daily volume, folks. Serious, massive block orders of 5,000 Bitcoin, 10,000 Bitcoin, 20,000 Bitcoin. I've heard ridiculous numbers across the board from people who work in the industry. As I've gotten to travel, I've gotten to meet a lot of people who work in OTC markets. But these are high-profile individuals who are going about buying large sums. And you'll see, if you look across the board and anyone in the industry, they'll tell you just about how crazy it's getting and how they're seeing just massive blocks of billions of dollars every single day going through and processing off exchange. So it's a very, very important thing to note, guys, that at the moment, while there's still a lot of kind of unprofessional nature in regards to cryptocurrencies, where there's not a lot of good exchanges for high liquidity clients, meaning people with a lot of capital, always keep in mind that when we take a look, for example, at volume in the market, as we take a look here, for example, at the yearly, that even though we haven't reached up to the levels we've seen in January and December, it is very key to note that there is a lot of institutional interest in this. And it's the reason why price has been able to move up like it has. And in fact, we would be seeing higher levels of price action. But the reason larger investors buy an OTC, so for example, say you have a large mining whale, for example, who's wants to get rid of 10,000 Bitcoin, and you have, for example, someone who wants to come in and buy 10,000 Bitcoin. They both have a very good incentive to do it on OTC because the whale knows, who has a lot of Bitcoin, if he goes on exchange, it's going to clear through the order book, and he's not going to get what he feels is probably a fair price. But on the other side as well, you also have someone with a lot of capital who, if they want to go buy a lot of Bitcoin, it's going to prop up the price a lot because there's just not enough liquidity for those types of investors. And because of that, it's really great to have OTC markets where, again, they're going to probably bicker back and forth on what price they want to negotiate, but eventually they will, and the intermediary between will make the exchange for them. So it's a very, very fascinating concept. I'm thinking about doing a video on this in the future. If you guys want to learn more about it, again, this is kind of something that I think many people don't know about, but as a YouTuber in this space, again, you guys know I'm going to provide the utmost transparency and information to you guys. I find it fascinating. I love learning about financial markets, learning about what's kind of going on behind the scenes in this space. And this is one of those factors, guys, that many people still don't know about in regards to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And I think it's only going to grow bigger and bigger until we get things like a Bitcoin ETF or other means of exchange where trading and investing in cryptocurrencies, there's more liquidity on these exchanges. With $2 to $3 billion of liquidity, in most cases, for example, exchanges like Upbit and Binance, which have the largest trading volume for cryptocurrencies, it's more altcoin swaps rather than liquidity entering in. Right now, Coinbase and Gemini and a lot of the other major exchanges just don't have it yet. So because of that, we'll have to see if it continues to grow and if we have exchanges in the future that have that liquidity. Nonetheless, I digress. It's a large topic. We'll maybe talk about it in the future. Again, leave a comment down below if you guys would like to see that or if you find it fascinating yourself and if you want me to explain it maybe a little bit better in the future. But anyways, guys, that's it for the daily update. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will keep you all in the loop over the next few days. I'm still going to be here in Dubai over, I think, the next day and a half or two. And then I'll be heading out to Cebu in the Philippines for the Beach Blockchain Conference. I'm real excited for it. But I'm hoping to enjoy my last little bit of time here in Dubai. Hopefully go do some sightseeing, see a little bit of the city, meet up with some of the people that I got to meet here as well in Dubai. Anyways, that's it for the video, though, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.